of weeks ago, we actually had a panel on the program talking about the real estate industry in Thailand. There were people who said that our design is the best in the world. There were comments about international designers being brought into the country. We talked about the values. We talked about, are there buyers or are there not? But I guess the ex-CEO of Raymond Land, now the CEO of Binswanger Brooker Thailand, Mr. Nigel Cornick, has been through 19 years in Thailand, so he's got some knowledge of what's really going on. We thought we'd take the pleasure of introducing him again and bringing him back to the program. Nigel, is it the time to buy or not buy?
I think it's the time, always the time to buy if you're buying at the right price. So I think
if you've got the right contact.
Yeah. So I think it's definitely going through the cycle. We're probably towards the bottom end of the cycle pricing wise, but I think that we might see a little bit more reductions in some sectors. I think we're seeing a lot of stock coming back into the marketplace on new, larger condominiums that were sold a few years ago. And they're providing, I think, a little bit more of a challenge for people in terms of being able to sell them. Not necessarily for what they paid. I think getting what you paid for it is not an issue, but getting what you perceive to be the profit is the problem at the moment.
So what we're actually seeing is we've got a sector of apartments or condos that started to sell, didn't sell, are coming back again, and also there's the new projects that are coming on the market too. Thais are traditionally known for buying new, only new. Is that still the case?
Yes, I think what we're seeing in terms of the resale market in terms of new condominiums is that Thais are buying the completed real estate. They have confidence in the fact that it's there, that they can borrow money on it also, they can leverage. So new buildings that are being completed like the Met and these sorts of projects that are now selling, but they're not selling it excessively more than the prices that people paid. So I think that indicates that at that area where pricing is very sensitive, anything below 15 million is probably saleable relatively easily. But when you start moving into the higher price ranges, 20, 30, 40, it's a lot harder to find buyers. That market used to be being serviced by the international buyers, but they've dropped off significantly. So it's
in your opinion, has the international market dropped off because the economy had a downturn globally and people were concerned about buying into real estate, or is it alone, or as well as the political situation here in Thailand?
I take the view it's probably less about the political situation than more about the global economic position that people found themselves in a year or so ago. And I think a good example is Pattaya, where we were relying when I was at Raymond on the Russian market as being a real driver for growth in the market there. And they were at one stage the number one buyer of real estate in Pattaya.
Were they?
Oh yes, without doubt. So what happened in consequence of the collapse is that in their own countries they started to be able to afford to buy real estate there, whereas before a lot of people were investing in real estate because they couldn't afford to invest that money in their own country. So in Russia, a lot of people now are buying there because they have the opportunity to do so because prices have fallen. It'll be interesting to see after this high season whether or not there has been a pickup in not just Russian but foreign demand in Pattaya, because I think that's a good benchmark as to whether or not demand is returning.
Our prices, maybe we're not quite at the bottom, but on the other hand we might be lifting out. So at that unknown area, as you say, we have to wait for the high season. But is it a fact still that Thailand is, as people keep telling us, is cheap to buy into, good value for money?
It's inexpensive. I'm not sure it's cheaper than a lot of the markets that you see. Certainly I would imagine it's comparable with Jakarta and Malaysia, but it's still quite it's not cheap. I wouldn't say it is a cheap cheap market. Perhaps when you move into certain segments, beachfront, etc., it probably is. But I think if you look at Shanghai and Beijing, they're not too far ahead of Bangkok, actually.
Is that right? So what have we got to do in Thailand to actually market our property, market our country, market what are people looking for to actually buy here in Thailand?
I think before the crisis, everyone was saying, and I was one of those, that you should increase the foreign limit and you should you should have long leases and all of that. But at the moment, it's fair to say that doesn't matter because there is not the demand to absorb that 49%. Now, I think areas like retirement visas make life a little bit easier for people when they do come here, give them the ability to stay longer without having to come in and out of the country, or hound them for 90-day visits to the police station, etc. So I think things like that would certainly make a difference with people's perception of how easy it is to come into Thailand to invest. But I think in the condominium area, foreign ownership, yes, it's been a problem in the past, but it's fair to say that it's probably not going to be a problem just at the moment. So there's a few more years before that gets brought.
You think a few more years still?
I think
it'll take that while to build back again.
I think so, yes. I think before we start worrying about that. And now also you've got provisions within the leasehold structure to at least offer a 60-year lease almost without any problems. So that may also be a trend that we'll see. And so I think that the lesser of the factors is this 49% foreign ownership restriction.
The housing market, of course, is Thai 100%, that you can't buy land. What's your view on the fact you cannot buy land in
I think, again, it's obviously driven by a long history of not letting people own land in Thailand.
Maybe they looked at Australia, what happened on the Gold Coast.
Well, that's right. It's not, but I think it's fair to say that if somebody wants to have a house here, then a lot of people are married to Thais, and there's always ways of overcoming it. And I think it's fair to say it's probably, again, one of those lesser factors in people's decision. If they really want to come to Thailand, then they'll probably either come up with structures, or alternatively they'll lease the land.
And what about the housing market in Thailand? I mean, at the top end it seems to be still quite well, as I see it, there's still a lot of sales at the top end.
Yeah, I think we've seen that the resilience of the Thai market is such that it really, from the lowest priced condo right the way up through to the more expensive single detached housing, there is a demand, and provided the product is in keeping with what the market expects, then you'll sell it. I think we see land and house still doing extremely well, quality houses. So everyone in the home sector, the Thai home sector, all the listed companies that are operating that sector are doing very well, and I think that will continue.
How does Binswanger Brooker, the company of which you're now CEO, benefit from this situation we have in Thailand, where the market is low? It's going to take some time to get the international buyers back in again.
Well, I think what you tend to get in these markets is very motivated sellers, because if the market is going through a phase of oversupply and choice, then you tend to find that people's expectations drop, and transactions can be concluded a lot quicker. And we're actually on behalf of a number of Thai clients, not foreign clients, who are seeing this as an opportunity to buy assets, not necessarily at distressed prices, but at reasonable prices. Whereas when the market is hot, then those vendors tend to have a very inflated idea of what their expectations are, and no transactions occur. So I think we all like these sorts of markets.
Nigel, thank you very much for joining us.